very, very interesting, because if Georgie just wins the dice roll, we're going to see if he chooses to go first or go second. I think that players that play this deck usually go first because they have a lot of tools to just put some field pressure, but we're going to see what's his decision.
Yeah, exactly that. And I feel that when you're mixing this with the Fiendsmiths and the Bystials themselves, ooh, okay, so Fiendsmith Mitsurugi and Ryzeal are going to be going first. Starting off with Prez. So this is a very important point that I've mentioned quite a few times, is activating quick play spells like this in the draw phase is absolutely pivotal. And this is where the Mitsurugis are really going to shine just how powerful Prez is.
Ooh. And we have the bell activated on the prayers, which is of course good, but you still have the search from the Habakiri. So it's going to accomplish something, but it's not going to stop completely the player.
Yeah, I actually do feel that Prez is one of the strongest cards in the Mitsurugi lineup. Just from being able to try and stop that, the amount of resource, as I was mentioning, during the draw phase, you are pretty much immune to most things apart from Ghost Spell, I guess. But that then gives you the ability to gain so much more resource before you even hit within Droll and Lockbird territory, that the Ghost Spell could actually be very, very important on this one.
Absolutely, and now we are in main phase and we are normal summoning the Aramasa, which is a bit of tough spot because there is the Dwarf and Lockbird in the Georgie's hand, so it's going to be really hard to just continue playing, especially because he's playing with the Ryzeal stuff, and the Ryzeal stuff is now absolutely not going to search anything. So he's going to go through his extra deck, so of course we see that he has the ability to go through the Fiendsmith stuff, and that is why the Fiendsmith cards are pretty good in those decks, because they allow you to have another line of play under this card that is in almost every deck, either in the side deck or in the main deck.
Yeah, absolutely, and I feel that we've already seen how important that it's taken technically 2 hand traps to try and stop the Mitsurugi line of play. And as we've mentioned before, having a plan B is always going to be very, very important. And I feel that this is where we're going to see the power of the Bystials when we start working down the routes of what I would assume would be the Bystial line, the Fiendsmith line of play. Because as you mentioned, the Fiendsmith just offer that ability that once you get 2 monsters on the field, work your way into Moon, go into Requiem, and then just build on them from there and there. And at the very least, you're either ending your field on a Desiree for a targeted negation, or you're going to be ending on a Triple D High Wave King Caesar to hopefully negate the summon of 2 monsters via spells, traps, or via monster effects. It's very interesting when we're looking at Georgie's list here, because as Barco was mentioning at the start, being able to go first or second, usually a Tenpai would want to be going second. They have just so much out-and-out aggression. But with the access to stuff like Fiendsmith and Bystials as well, you can set up a very decent going first field and then try and help your opponent try and break it while also being backed up with OTK capabilities.
And it's going to be really hard. It's not a good spot to be in for the Fiendsmith Mitsurugi Ryzeal player because it doesn't have a lot of interactions during Georgie's turn. And Georgie, you know that he's playing some Tenpai cards. For now, he's starting by the Lubellion to try to interact with the opponent, which is kind of something really interesting in this deck because you have the ability to just force interactions because the opponent will not let you like that. It will not let you add some cards. So here is the Ash Blossom, and now you can go with the Tenpai stuff because you know that the Ash is not here anymore. Is it going to be the Pedra? Is it going to be the Pedra? Yeah, it is the Pedra right now, and George is in a really good situation, but it's going to be really hard to stop that because you don't have anymore the Ash. We think that the set card is a prayer, so it's not going to prevent you for getting OTK this game.
Yeah, this is always interesting. I feel like if you are a Tenpai player, as soon as you see your opponent use Ash Blossom on anything outside of Sangan Kaiman, you are instantly relieved because you know that from that point on, being able to activate and resolve Sangan Kaiman during the battle phase really does lead you to that all-and-out OTK capabilities. And if you needed any more line of protection, you have the Sangan Summoning, which is exactly what Georgie has set. So I would assume from this position we're going to be trying to add a Genroku, or has he already hard opened up that all-important Sangan Kaiman?
Yeah, and water card, this Sangan Summoning, it prevents you from being interrupted on your own turn during the main phase 1. And then there's a battle phase, and during the battle phase you already have all the stuff that you want to just end the game. Here, there is the Genroku, so he's gonna special summon the Genroku and then being able to special summon the Shundra.
One of Shundra.
This is absolutely amazing for him, but considering the fact that he already has access to everything he needs to end the game, I would not like to be in the Fiendsmith Mitsurugi Ryzeal shoes player.
Yeah, unfortunately for Alistar, it looks like Georgie was able to, you know, cherry pick the perfect hand here, being able to get direct access to Pydra while also having that Ghost Spell to answer the prayers. On top of that, a Drown Lockbird to answer the first search that Alistar was trying to make. And then that one-off Chandra off of the back of a Sangan summoning and Genroku. It really is going to be a bit of an uphill battle here, but we never know. There's still 3 more cards left in Alistar's hand. One of those could turn the tide of this game very easily and very quickly.
Absolutely, but it's going to be very hard here. There is the prayers, of course. We knew that card because he added it back during the last turn, but it's not going to make him survive longer. I mean, just a little bit longer, but not that much. So, which card could make him survive this turn?
That's a very, very good question.
To be honest, I don't find one.
The only one I could possibly think of is a Dominus Impulse, and it would have to be in such a specific moment. It would have to be during the battle phase when Bident is made to try and return. You would then kind of ideally want a trap card in the graveyard to be able to destroy it, and I don't believe Alistar has a trap card to destroy the Bident, but even then, just being able to negate the Bident so that it's stuck on the field, if there's no way of getting it synchroed off in another movement, specifically during the battle phase, then ultimately that would leave Georgie with not moving for the OTK kind of play, but outside of the Dominus Impulse that I feel that the deck could possibly be playing, I can't imagine there's anything else. And I probably would have felt that a Dominus Impulse might have been used at an earlier stage as well.
And he's even playing the Dominus Impulse, considering the fact that he's playing the Fiendsmith cards. I mean,
exactly.
This is this is very hard for him. Like, we know those situations from last year, and it's not a very comfortable situation. So now, for those who are a bit new to the game and don't know Tenpai has a very strong ability to just end the game during the battle phase because they have a lot of cards that can attack, special summon back themselves from the graveyard, try to destroy things, and yeah, once you get into the battle phase, this is very hard for you to survive. There is the bell here. It's gonna be enough. I'm not sure about that, but it's still something.
Yeah, it's still definitely a way to stop the Pydra coming back, which is quite important because it is a level 4. Unfortunately, because the Genroku is still on the field and still in rotation, we basically just trade the Genroku for another Pydra. Anyway, we're back to, I wouldn't say exactly square one, but we now still have the ability to make either a Synchro level 10 or a Synchro level 7. And as soon as you actually work your way into a Synchro level 10 using the Bident, one thing that needs to be remembered about Tenpai is once you've declared 3 attacks in the battle phase, or any attacks have been made in the battle phase that add up to 3, you can revive the Bident back from the graveyard. And it looks like that's what we're going to be doing here. So we're going to be moving into a Synchro level 10.
Oh, and now this is actually over because now we have the Synchro 10 on the field and it prevents you from activating anything during the battle phase.
Yeah, if you wanted it to be signed and delivered on this one, I think that I'll switcheroo and make his opponent go first and then attempt to kind of pull the field apart.
I think the safest solution is just to go first because the field is so strong that it's going to be very hard for Georgies to try to break the field, but we're going to see what he chose. He chose to just let Georgie go first, but there are going to be so many things because he has the Bestials, he has the Fiendsmith stuff, so he's going to be able to make you feel anyway.
Yeah, this is very, very interesting as well, and I think that that's kind of the benefit that Georgie got from Game 1 is that he never revealed anything more than Bystial Tenpai. So when he's utilising cards like the Fiendsmith, this can really give them that go first option. If I'm taking a quick look at Alistar's side deck here, it looks like in return, you could imagine that Lightning Storms probably came in, Harpy's Feather Duster, Triple Tactic Talents, and then only 2 Bestials, if at much you want to put those in. Now, whether you put the Bestials in not knowing about the Fiendsmiths, or do you just put them in because you know they've got Lubellions and Bestials running around of their own?
I mean, I don't think you put them in because you didn't see the Fiendsmith stuff. You can guess that they are playing Fiendsmiths, but it's not a certain thing. So I think that you are more often rely on like other interruptions, like for example the Drown Bird, which is great in this situation because it prevents him from adding all the cards. You know, there's the Lubellion, there is the Fiendsmith cards, there is also like the all these Cayman and everything. So.
Yep. It did take a lot of thinking on this one. So it seems that we had Ash Blossom in response to the access of Requiem,
Which is great.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely the best interaction. Like if you have the ability to do that, but then this is the power of additional engines in a deck. Being able to activate the Bestial Lubellion, maybe the question that I have to you is, if you're in this scenario, would you value the Lubellion in this matchup to get you into a guaranteed Magnamut? So that's where you would, do you activate exactly as we've seen here? We've activated Requiem first, we've tempted the Ash Blossom has been tempted, then we go Lubellion and feel free. Or do you go the other way around, go the Lubellion, try and tempt the Ash Blossom at that point, and then work to your Fiendsmith elements or route itself?
The problem is that I think that both the engines are not very strong into Fiendsmith Mitsurugi Ryzeal because, you know, if you go into something like Caesar with the Fiendsmith stuff, then it's gonna get negated by the X, which is, of course, what you don't want to see. And if you want to prioritize the Bestials, then it's not very effective against the Ryzeal stuff. So, you know, you are just at that time just hoping that everything goes through and trying to put something strong. But you know, even the regain is not that strong because it's a very strong card against Malice, don't get me wrong, and it's a very strong card in general. But here, I mean, yeah, it's gonna get you a draw or something like that, but it's not that good.
Yeah, looking at Georgie's side deck as well, I feel there's a couple of cards in there that have that balance of going first and second. So naturally, if you feel that you are going to be going second, you're probably putting his Lightning Stormers and Half-Piece Feather Dusters less effective in this current state. However, you might also consider putting in Fantastical Dragon Phantasme and Triple Tactics Thrust, which can still be very useful for you if you do end up going first. The Triple Tactics Thrust would have very specific targets it could set. It could directly try and set a Fiendsmith Paradise. He could directly try and set a Triple Tactics Talents for the follow-up. But on the other side of that, a Fantastical Dragon Phantasme may still, during Alistair's turn, give the ability to sculpt his hand a little bit more, and I'd probably be aiming for those Bestials. We know that we're going to be getting a resolution of Magnamut in the end phase to work into maybe a Bulldrake or a Druid Swarm. If you're then able to add more Bestials to that, you're starting to build up answers to Alistair's Mitsurugi plays, but also Alistair's plays for his own Fiendsmiths.
Absolutely, and he's adding the Baldrake right here because, of course, he wants to summon the Drizvrum out of the seal during Alistair's turn. But yeah, I mean, we are back to a few years ago. Seal Pass.
Seal Pass. But this one's a little bit different. There's a brand different gained on the field. That could be the biggest change ever.
But yeah, Seal Pass is, I mean, it is something that you have to deal with. It's not the strongest field, especially when Alistair just drew the Impermanence, which is great in this situation. You can only bounce here the Regain, which is not good, of course. And then you have the Int, which is special, which is normal summon.
Normal summon of the Ice Rider,
so this is not a very good situation for the Tenpai player.
No, I mean, Georgie will still have the ability to tribute off the Hieratic Seals, even though it won't be able to resolve to return everything. That, in turn, usually works its way, or kind of permits its way, with the Fardra being in the graveyard, will permit its way to go into a Chandra or a Pydra, just being allowed there to be more of a wall on the field so that it can't just be simply attacked through. Another very important thing to notice as well with Georgie is he has banished the Requiem. However, when you look at his extra deck, he actually plays 2 Requiem. So it means that it's a little bit, anyone at home that was like, he's banished the only copy of Requiem, he actually plays 2.
Oh, nope.
Nice and easy on that one.
So now we're gonna special summon the X from the deck and add another Ryzeal card. And those Ryzeal cards, they are so strong, to be honest. They are so strong because one of them leads you to a lot of interruptions, but 2 of them, it actually goes through so many interruptions. So
yeah, the Ryzeal cards themselves are very, very resilient. And the other benefit of something like this is once you get to a position where you can no longer commit a Link Summon, for example, you still keep the door open for the ability to make your Ritual Summons. And the best thing with something like the Ryzeals and why they work so well with Mitsurugis is the fact that they can work themselves into each other.
Absolutely.
Your Ryzeals can get to Mitsurugis, your Mitsurugis can get to your Ryzeals. Everything is in harmony for that particular synergy between the two.
But here, will Georgie have what it takes to just survive and try to see a turn 3? It's going to be hard, in my opinion, because Alistair didn't even use a lot of cards from his hand. He literally just used the Int, which just reimbursed itself, because you have now access to the sword in hand. And yes, you have the Genroku on field, you have the Magnamut, and you have potential access to the Baldrake. that he's summoning right now, but is it gonna be enough? I don't think so. But yeah, Baldrake is still a bit annoying because you have the ability to just banish the next monster that will be summoned from the extra deck or a ritual monster. But yeah, you'd rather just banish, for example, the Detonator or even the Dual Drive.
Yeah, I can't recall. Did we see Ryzeals in Alistair's first game? I'm trying to if this is new. Have both players kind of caught each other off guard? For the first of all, that Alistair didn't know that Georgie was on Fiendsmith at all, and does Georgie not know or did not know after game one that his opponent was on Ryzeal? Was quite actually a interesting development for both players because they would. Siding is always so important, so being able to hold back as much information as you possibly can be the big difference. And I don't think you let this Exton hit the field, right?
Okay, so but can he prevent that? I think he can't. He can't. But the problem is that, of course, you are gonna see your next turn, but your field is not there anymore.
Well, the good benefit is that Georgie did revive the Magnamut. So the Magnamut will give the ability to search out a follow-up for the next turn, which we all know that Tenpais are dragons.
Yeah, the Pedra, for example.
So we're definitely going to be able to work our way into a starter there. It does look like that if we do decide to use Baldrake here to get rid of the... I mean, you can't let it stay on the field. You
have to.
It's exactly right. You take the trade-off, because if you leave that on the field and there's still the ability to work into the Fiendsmith lines, that will happen. But we're definitely chaining the Exton Knight here to kind of clear the field up. It looks like there is 3 cards in Alistair's hand, plus the 1 on the field, which is 4. And then when we look at Georgie, I can imagine he definitely looks like he's shuffling his hand, so he must have more than 1 in the hand, meaning that it's 5 to 4. Remember, Exton Knight needs your opponent to have more total cards than you.
So yeah, I think they are checking that.
How does George? Is Alistair got 4 cards in hand?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, so 4 to it would have to be 6 to 5, correct? Looks like we're chaining the Genroku. I mean, let me just double check this one. Remembering the wording on Exton Knight. If your opponent has more total cards in their hand and or field than you do. Now, I mean, we're already past that point here. It looks like Exton was chain link 2. We've worked our way into the Pydra. Exton Knight's effect resolves. Exton Knight being banished off of the back of the Baldrake. And we're now back to both players having clear fields.
And you know what would have been amazing? In this position, Alistair could just have summoned the Excident and threaten his opponent to just activate the effect, and then Georgie has to activate some stuff, especially the Baldrake.
Yep.
Then you force the Baldrake, but then you can still threaten him to end the game by not activating the effect. That is something that you could have done, but it's very dangerous, of course, because you let the continuous spell on the field, the Branded Regained, and I think the safest way to proceed is that way.
Yeah, so this is going to be very, very interesting as well, because remember, for the rest of the turn, the opponent takes no damage. So it means that Georgie's definitely going to get another turn. We know that there's the possibility of a Pydra coming to the hand during the end phase of this turn. So Alistair needs to remember that, so that the field that he does set up is enough to deal with a potential Pydra entering the field of play, alongside any other cards that Georgie may have held back.
And now we talked about that earlier, and yeah, there is a bridge between the Mitsurugi cards and the Ryzeal cards, and here is the Feral Imp, which can just search the new card, Water card, Habakiri. It is absolutely amazing. Of course, it's only once per game, but still, it lets you just tribute the Sagi, and Sagi will be able to add from the deck to the hand.
The all-important possible Mitsurugi prayers or Mitsurugi ritual. And as mentioned, what makes Habakuri so good is the fact that you can summon and tribute the same monster you just summoned, meaning that it can technically play around an impermanence or a draw and lock, an impermanence or an effect veiler and still get its tribute effect. It doesn't get its summon effect, but it will get its tribute effect, which is pretty much the same because most of the Mitsurugis have, if they are normal, special, or tributed, do X effect, and that is where it works out really, really well. And then being able to ritual summon from the deck using that Habakuri you've just revealed is going to get the Amo Makumo into rotation, which is going to set up that all-powerful, continuous Raigeki. Like being able to constantly keep looping that card back around and threaten, as you've already mentioned, a complete monster field clearance is absolutely insane.
this is gonna be very hard to just break because yeah, the Murakumo is such a great card, and you don't have the ability, you know, to just imperm the Murakumo. And on top of that, on top of the Raigeki effect, you also have a way to just make your opponent discard a card to just resolve an effect. So you know, you kinda reduce the level of the hand of Georgie. So yeah, I think this is a very interesting game.
So the Magnum search is going to be very interesting now as well. So do you go for a Bystial if you have something in the hand that's going to put the
that is
Makumo
right.
into the graveyard? Or do you go with your original plan, which I would assume would be access to the Tenpai engine? We know that there is a Genroku in the graveyard already, a Fadra, and a one, if not two Pydras, at least one Pydra. So there's only one Pydra, one Chandra, and a Genroku left in the deck to search. We've also then got to decide, as aforementioned, going for that Bestial Druid Swarm may be the difference. Nope, straight
It's gonna
into
be
the
the
Pydra. Maybe, I would like to think there might still be a Druid Swarm in the hand. Is that a possibility?
I mean, we're gonna see that real quick in a few moments. Georgie just starting his turn, and he is gonna normal summon the Pydra, I guess. Oh, this is the first. This is absolutely insane. Like this card accomplishes so much right here because you get rid of the prayers, and the prayers is what allows you to just put the Raigeki whenever you want. So that's a very good card drawn here by Georgie.
This is the one big gamble. When you do make that decision to try and catch your opponent off guard and make them go first, they're probably already siding in their go second card. So you need to make sure that you are dealing with them in your first turn, because unfortunately not, it means they're still going to have their go second cards coming right back at you in this exact example here. And I think it's actually really, really important that we have chosen to tribute off the Feral Imps, because being able to do so will now allow us to gain a little bit more resource back. Yes, we still need to try and find a way to get rid of the Makumo in order to kind of loop it back. And I think that is what we're going to be trying to see Alistair attempt to do.
And what is really important is that you don't take any risk, because if your opponent has some Bestial in hand, you don't want to lose access to this Murakumo. So I think this is very clever here from Alistair, especially because you have the ability to make your opponent discard a card. So yeah, you're not going to have access to the Raigeki, but you still have somewhat some disruption. But yeah, Georgie is pretty fine here with the Lubellion, adding literally the, I guess, the
Druid Swarm, yeah. So that might be why Druid Swarm wasn't searched in the end phase, multiple Lubellions in the hand. And this is the best kind of combination in that sense, because if you are able to get a Druid Swarm down, you have the graveyard effect of the Lubellion to tribute off your Druid Swarm, ultimately allowing you to trigger Druid Swarm's effect to try and send one of his opponent's monsters to the field. In doing so, trying to clear off the Makumo and kind of like suffocate the resource. That's kind of what you're trying to do, is you really can't afford for the Makumo to resolve. And this shows a very big kind of option here, because you could always hold that Druid Swarm back so that when the Makumo hits the graveyard, that's when you choose to get rid of it. But it does look like we're going to be going for the Lubellion, send in the Druid Swarm to then ultimately send the Makumo to the graveyard.
And this is very interesting because we can see here that now Tenpai Bystial Fiendsmith has way more interactions, and you know, you can go to turn 3, turn 4, turn 5 now, which was not the case before because the engine was such a glass cannon engine. But yeah, here we can see a proper game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Like.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if we choose to use the Makumo's effect to take one card from Georgie. Depending on what other hand traps Alistair may have access to, that could be the big difference to try and whittle down some of Georgie's resource. It looks like Genroku's going to the graveyard. We have chosen to use the Makumo effect to force that.
Oh, and we have the first. You told that, yeah, and you have some good second cards, and you are going to get access to the talent, and the talent is very strong here because there is still a monster on Alistair's field, so you are going to be able to just check the hand, and we can see the hand. There is nothing left to try to defend yourself because there is the int and the 2 Mitsurugi cards, so now road is clear.
Yeah, we know that our Pydra is 100% going to resolve. We don't need to worry about going for a Sangan Summon and a Sangan Kaiman. You see the smile on Georgie's face here.
Yeah.
I think he kind of knows we're going to be able to go for the Sangan Summoning, which would lead us into the Chandra during the battle phase. and pretty much finish it off. The Lubellion's going to be the icing on the cake just to deal with the Mitsurugi, and then all of the Tenpais are going to be able to go in direct.
Yeah, we are directly hitting and then activating the second Kaimen. Of course, the opponent doesn't have a lot to say except yes.
Yeah, I think once you activate and resolve the talents and see that there is no Ash Blossom sitting there waiting for you, you feel a lot more sigh of relief and a lot more comfortable to be able to resolve all of your plays and work your way in to complete the OTK. Alistair is going to be, unfortunately, sitting through this one, but I feel that we're going to be seeing Lubellion going in for 2,500 damage, and then the Chandra going in for another 17, which should pretty much finish the game off.
This is just a game here. You have a beautiful Tenpai combo tutorial, so if you don't know the combos, then you will have a chance to see that. But basically what you're going to try to do is going to the synchro plays, synchro 7, and you're going to be able to revive back the Fadra from the graveyard so that you can revive again something from the graveyard, and you're going to have ultimately enough damage to just end the game and win this 6th round.
Yeah.